Hello! Today I'm talking about Buttercream Bump Off by Jenn McKinlay. This is the second book in the Cupcake Bakery mystery series. It takes place in Scottsdale, Arizona, and has three main characters: Melanie Cooper, often referred to as Mel, Tate Harper, and Angie Delora. The plot really starts rolling when Angie and Mel are running a cupcake couples class up until Valentine's Day, and Mel's mom Joyce runs in because she's so excited to tell Mel that she has a date. Later that night, Joyce calls Mel very distraught because her date has died very suddenly and unexpectedly. And then the rest of the book is Angie, Tate, and Mel trying to figure out who killed this man. I'll be very honest, I didn't like this book at all. Um, I couldn't really identify with any of the characters. They had problems ranging from Mel's, which was my boyfriend is too busy with his job to spend very much time with me, to Tate, who realizes that he is in love with Angie just as Angie starts dating someone else, and Angie, because the man she just started dating is the son of the murder victim and he might be a murderer. Yeah, she seems pretty mellow about it. They often take actions that do not make sense to me at all. A good example of this is when Mel receives the phone call from her mother. She's with Tate and Angie. They're having kind of their traditional movie night. And they run over to the murder scene and they're stopped because, they're not authorized personnel. So she lies, Mel does, and says, "I'm with the DA's office. These two are my assistants. Get out of my way," basically, and runs into the house to find her mother. First of all, why does this work? Why doesn't he ask for some sort of identification? Why would people from the DA's office be at a fresh murder? I don't know. Um, Second of all, what's she gonna do when she gets caught? Because that's a very obvious thing to check. All I have to do is make a phone call, ask for some identification. She won't have any. She justifies this lie herself by saying, "Well, the guy I'm dating is with the DA's office, so kind of I'm with the DA's office. That counts." Um, so, yeah. And even though there is absolutely no evidence that the police investigation is going poorly, that the police are incompetent or doing a bad job, Mel's mother isn't a suspect despite being at the scene of the murder. Mel and Tate and Angie constantly interfere with the police investigation. Even after Mel is warned off by one of the detectives, he basically says, "Stop it. Just stop. I know you think you're helping. Stop." And she doesn't. And they flip flop on their logic all the time in really weird ways. Um, Angie can't go on a stakeout because she's bad at bluffing. Um, there's no dialogue about this. Basically, Mel gives Angie's a look that says, "You know you're a terrible liar, so you can't come." But previous to that, Angie had gone with Mel to kind of check out a suspect's house. And how is that any different? I don't think it is. I think that's exactly the same kind of thing. But she couldn't go the second time. Um, Angie and Mel almost mess up a sting operation that they themselves have set up to kind of catch this gold digger in action, I guess, trying to seduce an older man with money. They set up one of their regular customers to look really slick and send him out on a date with this gold digger lady. And I'm not really sure what that was supposed to accomplish because they already knew she was a gold digger and that she would slip off and say, "Oh, hey, I murdered this guy." Anyway, Tate says, "Don't go. You would stick out here." He went because someone had to go with their customer, and he has nicer clothes, I guess, and can fit into good restaurants. But they go anyway. They're like, "We can blend in with the furniture." And the reason they go is because they don't want to be left out. That is the reason. And even when Tate sees them, he's like, "That really? That's why?" And they're like, "Yes, That's why. Um, and these people are supposed to be running a very successful business together. Whenever they cut to the bakery, it's always busy. There's always people. So, yeah, I don't get it. That seems very contradictory because that seems to show a lack of common sense that does not translate well to a successful business. The plot is moved forward kind of randomly by the three of them trying to investigate the crime based on gossip and guessing, basically. They overhear stuff and they'll go to a party to try to figure out, is this actually someone who could have committed the crime, and, you know, eavesdrop, and it's terrible. It's awful. The characters themselves are all really exaggerated. Their personality traits are just over the top. There was one character I really even liked, the customer I mentioned earlier, and he wasn't really like a real person either. Um, they're not really believable as real people. You wouldn't read this and say, "Oh, I know somebody like that." Hopefully. um, and for some reason, everyone is really concerned about Mel and her boyfriend not having sex. Like, it's brought up by like 4 or 5 different people, not at the same time, in different points throughout the book. It's a reoccurring theme. I do not know why they all, even like her brother. Whose brother wants to talk to them about their sex life? I don't know. The ending is awful. It's bad. It feels kind of like very rushed, and they just needed it to end. Um, Overall, the book feels cluttered and confusing, and I wouldn't really recommend it at all. I'm sorry. It was bad. um, but if you'd like to read a different mystery with a female protagonist, I would recommend Real Murders by Charlaine Harris. This is the first book in the Aurora Teagarden mystery series. Aurora is a librarian who belongs to a club called Real Murders. The members come together once a month to discuss famous murders until one of their members is discovered dead at their meeting place, arranged exactly like the Wallace case, which was actually the case that Aurora was supposed to talk about that night. So it's very good. It takes place in Lawrencetown, Georgia. It's a little bit older, so it feels a little dated with the technology sometimes, but I think it's full of really engaging characters. If you'd like to read a book about something that takes place in a bakery, I would recommend Antique Bakery by Fumi Yoshinaga. It's a 4-volume series. This manga is about the men who work at the bakery and their customers. It's just about kind of short stories that are loosely connected into an overarching plot. And it's full of really yummy sounding descriptions of a lot of the desserts. It's really the characters who are going to keep you reading, and maybe the food a bit. So thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you again next time. Goodbye.